How you do this? Well, you keep it really simple. You probably have everything you need. You very likely have everything you need because you don't need any fancy equipment. You don't need a script. You don't need to rehearse. You don't need to write a story like you will for demo day. All you need to do is actually just take us on a tour. The best practice of this style video is that it comes across just like somebody shows up on your doorstep and you say, literally, would you like to go for a tour? And you walk them through and you stop every once in a while and tell them something. It should feel like that experience. It should feel authentic, is the term that everyone's using in marketing these days. It should feel real, right? Not scripted at all. And so to do that, here's 6 steps. We'll go through them one at a time, right? You can do this with a smartphone, and I highly suggest smartphones for certain reasons. You're just going to walk through. You're going to shoot for about an hour, plus or minus. But you're going to shoot about an hour worth of video. And then you're going to edit that down to your 5 to 10 minutes. If it goes 15, that's fine. There's no hard limit here, but just keep in mind, people probably won't get past minute 5. You don't need any music. You don't need any titles. You don't need any slides. You don't need diagrams. You don't need anything except this piece of video. And then you post it on social media. Ooh, people will watch. So here's why it's a smartphone. Right, so you start with your smartphone. First reason why is these days they all have good cameras in them. Right, the camera in the smartphone is actually better than my $500 Sony handheld camera. What's more important is that the software in the smartphone gets rid of the jiggles. So when I'm holding the camera up here, and use 2 hands to hold your smartphone, and I'm walking around with this phone, the phone is literally like jiggling around in my hands, and the software in the phone will get rid of the jiggle. So it'll look pretty smooth with a smartphone. And when I do the same thing with my off-the-shelf camera, it's very jiggly, right? It's jarring to watch. It doesn't make for good high-quality video. So smartphones are better because they have little sensors in them that take that out. And even if you went all the way up to the next level of camera, if you had an SLR $1,000 camera, the video quality might be slightly better, but it won't look like a better video because, again, it'll jiggle around. Right? The only way you can make a better video than a smartphone is by bringing in a professional videographer who'll bring in tripods and dollies and stable cams and other pieces of equipment and make a slightly better video, but it won't be more authentic. It'll be less authentic. It'll actually have less trust if you go that path. So first and foremost, just grab your smartphone. That's all you need. Second one is you're going to walk through. So it's really a 2-person job here. There's someone who's the camera operator, and then there's someone who is the host. The founder should be the host, not the camera operator. Right? So someone else on your team should be holding the camera and walking around, and you are speaking through the camera to the internet. And you'll see when you watch my videos that I'm also interviewing and asking questions along the way. Right? I'm actually directing the video while I'm going along, but you can do that from the host position as well. Don't rehearse it. Just literally start at your front door, start on the walkway up where the drive up is, you'll see, and just pretend that person just showed up for the first time and you're walking them through. Every once in a while, you stop when there's something interesting to say about wherever you are. You stop, you face the camera, and you tell your story. And then you turn around and you keep walking, and you can run the camera the whole time. You don't actually have to stop and take little snippets. You just run the camera for an hour. It's totally fine. It's really important, though, that when you're talking, that you talk to the camera. There's no microphone on the person's lapel or boom overhead or anything fancy. And so if you want good audio, which you need, then you have to face the camera. That, and we want to see you. Again, we're trying to build trust. So we want to see you talking to the camera. We want to see you smiling. Right? We want to see you interacting. Don't talk to the camera person by their name. Everybody, I always went to do these videos, and everybody was always saying, Looney, Looney, Looney. I said, no. I'm not the audience. The internet is the audience. So don't talk to me as the camera person. Talk to the entire world, right? So just say you, or just say welcome, right? Don't address the camera person by name. They're just there to represent the entire internet. Shoot a lot. Again, you're going to shoot at least 45 minutes of video, maybe an hour, maybe even more. Don't worry about shooting too much. Too much is not a problem. The trick is to have enough coverage, is the term, enough coverage of this tour that when you chop it up into little tiny segments, it covers about 5 to 10 minutes. Save everything else. Don't throw it away. If you have a really compelling other piece that, if you want to make 2 videos, one for the tour and then one that talks about a process or something, even better, right? If you want to go deep into how your process actually works, or if you want to go deep into talking about the farmers you're working with, or you want to go deep about an invention you made, that's fine. You can do that, right? More videos are better. The one that you're about to be assigned is the 5 to 10 minute site visit, but more videos is better. While you're doing this, if you stumble, you might notice me doing this as I'm teaching, but if you stumble across the words, if they're not flowing out really well, what you do is you just stop, take a breath, and say it again. And so if you have trouble speaking your line that's made up on the spot, well, then take a second take. If you need to take a third take a third take, or a fourth take, or a fifth take. Doesn't really matter, because you're going to edit this video a lot. If you think you have a better way of saying, what often happens is you have a monologue. Sometimes you'll speak for like 2 minutes. And after 2 minutes, you feel like you're rambling. What you do at that point is you stop, you take a deep breath, and you repeat and summarize that 2 minutes or 3 minutes or whatever you've been monologuing. Try and summarize it into 30 seconds or 45 seconds. And what you'll find is often the second time you say it, you'll be much more relaxed. It'll come out smoother, and you'll probably wind up using that as your final edit. So you're really practicing a little bit on camera. Last thing you're going to do as you're going around is you're going to shoot some B-roll, they call it. You're going to shoot some extra video of other stuff. There could be signs around your facility. So you just take 10 or 15 seconds just pointing at that sign, and sometimes just pointing at it, sometimes doing a slow zoom in, sometimes doing a pan around the facility. Sometimes you're just taking a video from afar of people interacting, the customer paying at the register. Maybe you have some animals on your facility. You're just going to take 10 or 15 second videos of that. Sometimes you have product on a shelf, so you do a slow pan across the shelf, right? And what I mean by panning is I just mean moving the camera slowly. Sometimes it's moving inward slowly or outward slowly or up or down or sideways slowly. And the reason why you shoot all this B-roll is it's useful. So if you try and make a 2-minute video of what you're doing, then it's really just snippets of video and you're speaking on top of that. And we rarely see you. But when we're doing the site visit style that I'm talking about, the 5 or 10 minutes, what often happens is you start monologuing for 30 seconds, 45 seconds, maybe even a minute, and that gets boring. And so if we're just staring at you speaking to us for a minute, and we're not moving, that tends to be a boring video. But if you're speaking for 20 seconds and then all of a sudden the audio keeps going, and the video switches to something you're talking about, and then it switches back to you, and then 10 seconds goes by, and then it switches to something else you're talking about, and switches back to you. That breaks up the monotony. It makes a more exciting video. And you'll see that in the chicken basket video. And also sometimes you need a transition between scenes, like a movie. There's the scene in the opening where you say welcome, and then there's the scene in the first space where you're talking. And sometimes you need a way to get from scene to scene that isn't just a fade. And so sometimes you can just throw in your animal shot or your facility shot or something in between to make a good transition. All right, how do you do all this editing? Well, there's a lot of different choices. Probably the 2 most common software out there for professionals are Adobe Premiere and Apple's Final Cut Pro. Those cost money. Everything else on here is free. So you can do all this editing on Apple iMovie or Microsoft Movie Maker, or you can download some open source like Blender or OpenShot. They're all really similar. They're all basically the same structure, and I'll show you what that looks like in a minute. What you do is you just load all the snippets. So if you shoot one long video, that's pretty easy. But often what I'll do is I'll turn off the camera and have a conversation. So my tours in real life were like 2 or 3 hours long, and I shot an hour's worth of video along the way. And often in the midst of the conversation, I would say, wait, stop, pull out the camera, and I would say, hey, do that again. Do that for the camera. And so you just load this all in the order that you shot them. Try and do the tour in a logical order, right? The only thing you should pre-prep is like, which order should I show the facility off in? With the very last part being, just expect no one's going to watch it, right? It's at the end. People aren't going to get to minute 7 or 8 or 12. And so it's probably never going to get watched. So the important stuff up front. So you just start at the beginning. and you just start trimming it down. And this software is all about trimming. You take out all the first, take all the extra takes. You take out all the unnecessary video in your transitions from place to place and whatnot. And when you're done doing that, and that will take you, if you shot an hour's worth of video, that process could take you an hour and a half or 2 hours, because you have to literally go through the whole thing. What will come out of that is probably 20 minutes or 25 minutes, which is way too much. So you go back to the beginning and you run through it again, and you're taking out more and more until it shrinks down to about 5 or 10 minutes. And once you have 5 or 10 minutes, you watch it again, and there's pieces that you really like, but they didn't fit. And again, you could make a second video with that. You can make a longer cut if you really want. But once you have 5 or 10 minutes, you watch it one more time and you see if it flows. And if it does, then you're done. So it's just an iterative process. And it will typically take 3 or 4 iterations until you get it to the length you want. So here's what the software looks like. This is a screenshot of Adobe Premiere, which is what I use. I've been using this software forever. It's basically all the same. What we're looking at here is a timeline. And this is a very short video. This is 1 minute, 14 seconds, and 29 frames. There's some other stuff you can do. So you can put your logo at the beginning. That's a nice little teeny bit of polish you can do. Or you can just put your name on there, or you can put your logo in the video simply by taking a video of your logo on your business card or on your front door or the sign in the front of your facility. That works even better, because then it, again, makes it look like you're just walking up and seeing the logo. You could add some music, but you don't have to. Music in the background makes it feel more polished and more professional, but you don't have to go there. You could add graphics and diagrams and slides, but you don't have to. You'll see when you watch my site visit videos from all my travel last year, none of this has any of this. No logos, no music, no graphics, just straight in walking into the video. The more polish you add, the more your video will look like a professional marketing video that was created to sell something. And that's what we're trying not to do in this particular case. So in most cases, we want the polished 30-second ad or 60-second ad. We want that, that we can pay to put that somewhere, and people will watch it. But that's not what we're going for here. What we're going for here is the authentic walkthrough that feels like someone has just showed up as being given a tour. And so the more polish you add to this, the more you make it slick, the less it'll work. And so you don't have to do any of this stuff. And then once you're done with that, you render it into one of the formats. And so you have to render the video, and I'll explain why in a bit as well. You have to pick what format, and at least on Premiere, there's like 400 formats to pick from. I use MP4, 720p, which is high def, but not super high def, 25 frames per second. It's not exactly the same video that comes off of the phone, but the software figures all that out. This is one of the standards for YouTube. And so I find this on a very long list, and I say render to that format. And then it gives me a file. And that file I can simply upload to YouTube. I can upload to Facebook, and that's it. Right? They're too long to put on Twitter, right? I would put a link to my YouTube video. And I have a channel on YouTube with a whole bunch of videos on it. That's a trick to try and get more people to watch videos. So again, there's a whole bunch of examples. There's actually now 20 videos sitting in the site visit playlist. 2 of them are slick, got added yesterday to the bottom. But when you go to this particular playlist sitting on the Fledge website, you will get a list of all of these videos. A playlist is something else that YouTube has as a feature. So you can organize all your videos into playlists to make it easier for people to find them.